Hi YouTube, this is Fantasia Dream. This is going to be the first video of campaign writing and stories, and this one is going to be about setting. Before we get into that, I need to give a note that I forgot to say in the last video, which is that these videos, the idea came to me through Sean Connors and his video supplements to the role-playing games. So, if you haven't already checked him out, check him out. He has some very good stuff. And, yeah. So, now let's get into this. The reason that I decided to start with setting is because it is one of the most important pieces of anything. I mean, it's going to change the entire scape of whatever's going to go on. All of the stuff that I'm going to say here, there's always, because it's your own imagination, there's always that, yeah, but you could do this, and yeah, but you could do that. But for the most part, just follow along. It'll work better that way. So, there is, say you're in like a space setting. You're not going to expect there to be a lot of sword fighting and like close combat stuff unless that stuff involves like plasma weapons or more advanced stuff. You're not going to have like a metal sword. In the same sense, you're not going to have a ton of guns in a medieval setting. Of course, unless of course that's what you want to do, but again with the whole could be anything thing. So, this is going to be telling you about how to really get that setting down. So what you want to do is, before starting a campaign, or before designing your story, you want to figure out where it's going to all take place. So, if you want to go and follow along with the typical D&D style, you might want to go and set up in a medieval-styled place, with castles and dukes and stuff like that. And that's a very major point. Because it's, depending on what you're going to set up, it's going to change the entire context of what the world will be. Because if you have it in, now if you have all the dukes and stuff ruling, and the kings and lords and stuff being the entire hierarchy of the system, it's going to be very different than if you try and do maybe a communistic style where everyone is equal or something like that. In the same way, it'll change what characters come out of that and what what your players are going to be expecting. So, a few of the things that you need to remember is to make your world very believable. This is very important because it's to help your players get grounded into the world. Because if your world is all chaotic and crazy and turns out to be exactly like Limbo, then it's not going to be as in-depth, probably, as if the world is at least somewhat stagnant and some things were for certain. It'll also help you to get more in-depth into the story, because you can really dig into the world, and you can kind of drop yourself into the world and build around it, instead of having to build around an infinitely changing thing. Another thing to keep in mind is keep the setting constant. This is a lot like what I was just saying, but more of it's just that you don't want to just randomly switch things out. Like, the same bartender they come to twice and his name is different each time. I'll talk about how to keep that stuff up later, or you can try and see one of Sean Connors' review supplements. I think he has one on that. The third thing to do is put yourself into the story, and put yourself into the campaigns. I mean, put yourself into the world and see what you would do. What your characters would act like, what people would act like, what things to look out for, and because of that, you can really get into playing characters more and stuff like that. Now, these two things, I know how I'm talking about writing as one thing and kind of the campaigns as one thing, but they're really combined. You can write a campaign off of a story, or vice versa, and it actually is better that way. Because if you can write a whole story, even if the characters never know about a specific character in your setting, or about the setting in general even more, then they will really feel that, and they'll really be able to see that. The final thing is details. It's really, really important. More than anything else so far, probably, actually, that you need details in the setting. After you get that setting kind of grounded and stuff like that, after you follow these other things, if you can get details in the setting, it totally brings it to life. So, if you get the names of the taverns and stuff like that, if you have maps of the cities, if you have different things for the world that really make it kind of come to life and pop out, then your character, or your players, and your characters even in your stories, are going to seem a lot more interesting. and you're probably going to have a lot more people interested in what you're doing. So that's all I have to say for now. This is Fantasian Dream, saying over and out.